Hi and welcome everyone. I'm Brett Dunstone from Mining Green, and today I'm speaking to Øystein Rushfeldt, CEO of Nussir ASA, who are developing the world's first fully electric underground copper mine up in the north of Norway. It's electrification of the mining industry is something I'm really interested in, particularly underground. So I'm interested in hearing more from Øystein on what's going on up there. So welcome, Øystein, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So curious about your background and how you ended up working on this project, developing the Nussir project up in Norway.
Yeah, I can describe it. It's obviously a long journey coming to such a decision, but mainly I have been working as a professional mining engineer, a metallurgist for 34 years, and during the first 2/3 of that time, I've been working for multinational companies all over the world with assets in Norway, and I've been mainly heading their operations. And I've seen a lot of capital and goods traveling out of the country without making too much benefits in Norway. That is just how it is. That's the multinationals are professional. They're doing a very good job, but it doesn't create that much local value. So I decided at some time that I should personally do something about it and see if we could start up a new mine in Norway that would be owned and run from Norway. And that is what we are about to do. And since this is a difficult target anyway to make a regional or Norwegian mining company, then why not make it even more difficult and go all the way and see if we at the same time also can do things that hasn't been done before, and that can lead the way and sort of be a lighthouse for other mining enthusiasts around the world. And that is, I think, the most important goal that we all have, is to do something about the climate crisis. And we can do two things in the mining sector. We can produce those valuable metals, but we can also produce them in a way which solves the problem and not just makes the problem bigger by having CO2 emissions from mining. So cutting the emissions from mining it's actually a must, in my opinion, because we will have to be part of the solution.
In Norway, like how big is it's hard to know from this side of the world. In Australia, we don't hear too much about Norway, but how big is the mining industry over there? Is it it's a fair bit going on?
Mining in Norway. So the mining sector in Norway is smaller. It's medium sized. It's smaller than Finland and Sweden, and the simple reason for that is that it used to be very similar to the other Nordic countries, quite thriving up to 70s and towards 80s. But then the oil and gas industry just picked up all the attention, the people, the capital, and is for good reasons. And it has stayed like this for almost for 2 generations. But these days we are seeing that oil and gas is actually coming down. The production is less every year because the Norwegian Sea is it's in a late cycle. And Norwegian politicians have also realized that oil and gas is not there for the future. So other sectors are being looked at again, and mining is one of them. But it doesn't mean that it's easy. We are still having a very major oil and gas sector that we are competing with for people and cash.
Right. So how is the development of the Nussir project progressing at the moment? They're going to plan.
Yeah, we are this year we are going according to plan. So we have passed the feasibility study level of a definitive study. We have done the previous pre-feasibility and the preliminary studies before that with gold and now with SRK. So we are doing detailed engineering currently, and we are preparing the financing. So that is taking almost all of our resources currently, and we do hope that we are financed and then can make the final go-ahead decision in the second half of this year. So we are well on our way to that.
Yeah. And do you feel with being sort of a greener sort of mine that it'd be easier getting that finance than if you're just a sort of diesel, equipment sort of mine? Is that helping?
Yeah, when we started talking to the capital markets already some years ago to get to know them and to prepare and be ready, the electrification, green mines, and the green shift was not discussed at all. It was not even mentioned, and capital markets. Even when the machinery started to become available some years ago, there was no interest from capital markets. And then a good year ago, it started to turn, and it turned very quickly. And what we are seeing today is that at least the capital markets that we are talking to in the Western Hemisphere probably will not be that interested in an old-fashioned diesel mine project. So I think for us, it was never a question anymore, and we were anyway quite prepared for the situation, as we have been looking at electrification for quite a few years, and I would say that we were really ready for this very, very strong green shift in the capital markets.
So it was never a point that you were looking at developing the mine that not fully electric, is always from inception was going to be, fully electric sort of.
I think that in not too many years, we will be an underground mine, and I think that there will not be a long time before diesel underground will be banned in maybe first in our countries and in the European area, and then you have to do your electrification anyway, maybe in 5, 7, 8 years time. And then you will be behind. Then your infrastructure and your mining method will be all wrong, because it's not really made for electric operation. And know that we have made a decision. We know exactly what we need with regard to. We need a lot more power, cabling and chargers and the electric infrastructure. We'll need a lot less ventilation, which is good when you are in the Nordic area with cold winters and heating of ventilation and the sizing of ventilation. So we don't have to do a lot there. And I think that the mine itself will be different. There will be the mining methods will be adjusted to electrification, which is good to do from the very beginning, of course.
Definitely makes sense to be able to design a greenfields mine as electric rather than trying to, have an existing mine and make electric sort of equipment fit. Will the mine be, taking a lot of the electricity from renewables? Will it be like 100% renewables? I've heard there's a lot of hydropower up towards where the mine is.
Yeah, in our area in the north of Norway, we have excess amount of electric energy from almost exclusively from hydropower and some wind power, which means that the electrons are flowing out of northern Norway and not into the area, which also means that the power prices are very stable, low, below 3 cents per kilowatt hour. So we know exactly where the energy comes from, since there is practically no import. And I would guess that it's 97% hydro, and the remaining part some windmill farms. So it's indeed renewable.
So you've got green power going in and using electric equipment, so it's about as green as you can get.
Yeah, I think that in countries where you don't have this situation at all, where a lot of the electricity is coal-fired, and if you buy the electricity from somewhere else in the world, from hydropower, it's not really coming from hydropower production. It's kind of a scheme where it's an economic transaction. And then it's a little bit different to actual produced local renewable. So I think that the world should focus not only on your ability to buy quotas, but also on your ability to have actual production in your area, to put up windmill farms or solar farms or have a hydro power, so that it's clear that your energy is for real, is regional, local, and and renewable.
So it's coming from a local source. You know that it is renewable. I know that there's a number of miners in Australia that are setting up solar and wind and batteries and those sorts of things to have their own green electricity. So what they've got. Yeah. So what are some of the challenges you've been having to deal with in making Nussir a fully electric mine?
Yeah, I think that the main challenge is and has been all the way the price of the equipment. It's really expensive, and it is expensive to a degree where it's not viable. So if we would have to do all of that financing alone, I think that would have been too problematic. But in Norway, we have a state fund, Enova, and Enova is giving grants if you're a front runner, a true front runner doing something new in your area, which is either new in Norway or new internationally, and leading the way. In such cases, you can have up to 40 or 50% of your additional cost for electrification covered by a grant from this fund. And so it's a grant. It's not a loan or something we would have to pay back. It's a pure grant, and this makes the decision also financially viable. And of course, we have had very, very lengthy talks with the supplier of the machinery, if they also could be looking at our case as a showcase, and then from their side also take a part of this heavy burden and assist, so that we become a truly all electric mine, and that we also becomes a visiting area for new customers of this of the vendor.
Yeah. It's definitely hard when you're the first or one of the first to use the equipment, and it's still there's not enough market for the prices to come down, and it hasn't been tested enough. So yeah, it's sort of a chicken and egg sort of thing, that you need to get more out there for it to come down, but makes it hard for the front runners like yourself. I know you probably covered some of the benefits of going electric before, but anything else, any other big benefits that you see from going electric?
Yeah, we just talked about the electric mine is a different mine, and the more you think about it, the more you dive into it, the more different it becomes. So what we are doing now is that our mine is a very traditional underground sub-level open stoping operation with this very thin ore body with a dip of 60 degrees. So there will be a lot of tunneling and a lot of ore drill drifts. That it will be massive amount of drill drifts, and in all mines they will be flat. There's no reason to do anything else, so they will be horizontal. But if you have for the diesel machine, that makes sense. But if you have an electric machine, you would like your drill drifts to have an inclination from the tipping point where your ore is loaded into a shaft. And then if you have this inclination all the way up to the area where you are producing and mucking up, or you will take it downhill with the load and you will regenerate electricity from the gravity position of the ore, which needs to go anyway to go downwards towards the loading point, and then go up again without load, and then using part of that energy, and then your battery might last 8 hours rather than 4 hours. So this is something you would never even think about in a diesel mine, but it makes a lot of sense in the electric mine. So the electric mine will be also physically different. And then when it comes to the bottom, you would avoid having very, very heavy trucks going up to your processing plants, because the trucks are trucking ore, but it's also trucking a lot of metal, which is a heavy load on batteries. So we will be doing all of that logistics with conveyor belts. It is expensive, but the conveyor belt is only conveying some rubber and all of the ore. And for an electric operation, that is quite important to avoid this transport of machinery. And with the price of electricity in northern Norway, that also makes sense. It's a little more of investments, but it will give you lower operational costs in the future, which is what most mines are actually living from, low OPEX and surviving. If you have a high, you have a low CapEx and you get going, but you have a high OPEX, and then suddenly there is fluctuations in the copper price, and your mine is closed. So that is something we certainly would like to avoid.
No, definitely, yeah, good to hear using the conveyors, because a lot of mines, at least here in Australia, is the decline haul to the surface, so it's electric equipment is a lot more challenging because it's having to do a lot more battery swaps and all that, so it's a harder barrier. So if you can actually design your mine where you can have conveyors so that you don't have to have those issues, then it's a lot easier. You might have you've really got much higher capex up front, but be a lot cheaper going forward.
Yeah. We did have some years ago we had a spiral version of the mine with a lot of traffic and this spiral ramps. That is all gone now, so there is no such thing. It's all the main decline and the main transport level and some of the access levels are all straight to cater for conveyor belts most of the places, and then we will see if we can have some flexibility with the use of conveyor belts. And we will use a number of smaller crushers, semi-mobile crushers, and the crushers will pick up ore from the ore passes automatically without any handling, because handling is costly when you have costly electric machines, and then bring it to the main conveyor belts system automatically. And these crushers will then move along as we move further into the mine. And we will have much more ore passes than in a diesel mine. So the ore passes will be fairly close to each other. They are costly, but which means that the transport of ore in the drill drifts to the ore pass will be so short that you can use LHDs only. And again, avoid the trucking, which is trucking is a problem in the electric mine.
So there won't be any trucks or trucking underground?
There will have to be some trucking on the development going further in, but for operation, we will try to avoid trucking at all.
And have you been? There's a few other mines around the world that are gone or going electric. Have you been learning from any of these of what does or doesn't work and those sorts of things?
Yeah, we have had very lengthy talks with Borden Mine in Canada. Fantastic, enthusiastic people up there, and we still have contact with some of them, and we have been able to get a lot of information from them, and we will share our information with anyone. Anyone can come and visit us or ask for all the details. There is no competition in the world with regard to electrification. It's all we are all on the same team. The whole mining sector needs to electrify, and we can only help. And when we also have this help from the Norwegian state, we are obliged to share. That's the reason for giving us the grant, is that we should share all our experience and then have this ripple effect. You have these rings in the water spreading out. So that is the whole idea, that we talk to people that are looking at the same thing, and we are open to give out everything that we learn.
Sort of collaborating, share the knowledge, because a lot of people they're not used to electric equipment or electric mining and how that works. So the more you can share, the better. Because I know, like here in Australia, we've got Electric Mining Consortium that sort of fosters that between mining companies and OEMs, and there's different groups I know elsewhere around the world that try to have help foster that sort of collaboration. So the more we can get, the better. Read that you've on the equipment, the OEM front, you've partnered with Epiroc. That's right. So what was the reason with going with them over like a Sandvik, or I suppose Sandvik's probably the only main one?
Yeah, we have been talking to a number of vendors, and we are still talking to some of them on the parts of the equipment that is still out for decisions. But for the main machinery, the key machinery, we talk to the European companies only. It's a lot about standardization, and we think that we need these companies fairly close to us. So we have talked to a few companies, 3-4 companies, and the competition ended up with 2 of them in the lead, and obviously that is Sandvik and Epiroc. And they were extremely tight and close, and both doing a lot of good job. And I think that both of these two companies would have worked perfectly well. We did choose Epiroc for some reasons. On the they were leaning forward a little bit more to be there on site with and doing some more work with this the Norwegian entity, which will be our contact point in the when the party is over and we are going back to ordinary days, ordinary production. They will be quite close to us and assist us. So we did choose Epiroc. We found that they were a small bit better, but we can certainly recommend both Sandvik and Epiroc. It's not a lot of a difference. And then we are looking at all the other machines that are these assisting machines doing all these smaller operations. And we are looking at mainly Normet and McLean, and haven't finally decided yet.
It's hard to get your hand. There's plenty of OEMs to get your head over. I suppose it's just making sure you choose the right ones that fit for your mine, and the support is probably like you said, it's probably the big thing. Having a local team definitely helps. Being electric, has that helped with getting locals on side? Getting your social license to operate and all that, so that you've got community behind the mine, or you think they would have been behind it anyhow?
The community is absolutely working proactively to have mining arriving to their local community. They have had copper mining earlier. They know perfectly well the pros and cons of mining, and they have made a very educated decision in their political boards in the local municipality. So for them, it is all about having a small town in northern Norway, turning around this situation where people are moving away and focusing on surviving as a society. So for them, it is all about having new jobs and new life and activity into their area. They certainly positive to electrification, but it's not a thing that is critical for them. They never asked us to do electrification, so that there's no such connection really.
And that's good to hear. I suppose it's quite it's not a hugely populated area, and I suppose it's can quite easily go one way or the other. So it's good to have the community on side behind you. Makes getting the project up and going a hell of a lot easier than if they weren't so in favour.
Yeah. I think that for the locals, it is most important to have a new company coming and with a couple of hundred employees. The very local area has 1,000 inhabitants. It's the local community, and the local municipality have 10,000. So it's a big working place for them. But for the regional politicians and for the parliament members from northern Norway, for them the electrification is an additional good argument when they are meeting other groups or parties that are not that interested in mining at all, or doesn't understand the connection to the green shift and the need for some metals. So for them, it is obviously quite important that we are electric.
It's good to have as many ticks against the project as you can, and I suppose it's just one more positive to add to the list. I know it's not super remote, but up in the north of the country where the mine is, it gets quite harsh sort of conditions. Like would that pose any problems with the electric gear, like working that I suppose I know you'd be underground, but pose any problems?
Well, actually, it's good you ask, because the answer is not exactly what you would expect. Because a lot of people that I meet in Toronto or London or Zurich or wherever we travel to talk to suppliers or capital markets, they have this idea that northern Norway will be harsh climate like Siberia or Alaska, but actually it's not the case at all. In northern Norway, people never realized that they were in an Arctic area or that they were different from southern Norway. It's not such a big difference, and the reason for that is the Gulf Stream. So the Gulf Stream brings relatively warm water up the coast of Norway, all the way up to the top of Norway, which is then bordering with Russia, and then the heating effects stops at the end of Norway. And as you go into Russia, I think everyone knows that Russia and Murmansk have these icebreakers, atomic icebreakers. But just to compare the situation where you need fantastic, huge icebreakers in Murmansk, which is not too far away from us, in Repparfjord, where the plant is being built and where the shipment of concentrate will happen, there is no ice in the fjord at any time during the year. So it's an ice-free fjord all year round. And the coldest temperatures in the winter is like -10 and maybe -15 at the worst, which is not really anything to talk about if you're in inland Canada or inland Sweden or Finland, where you might have -30 or -40. So it's really in the winter times in January there might be up in the hills some rough winds, but not much snow really. So people in this area, we have quite a few cities, oil and gas hubs, and these cities have everything you find also in Oslo or Stockholm or Helsinki, and cultural houses and the modern life. And we have within 1 hour drive, we have 3 airports from the site. 2 of the airports with direct flights, Boeing 737 flights to Oslo, and one of the airports can also take Boeing 747 and Airbus A380. I actually seen 2 747s at this airport at some time, with people coming from to see Santa Claus. So it's fantastic infrastructure, highways open all year round. So it's not a harsh climate. It's pretty much just normal Norway.
Compared to Australia, it's be harsh, but for anyone that's used to a little bit of cold, then it's probably fine. Yeah, that sounds like it's well set up with respects to infrastructure and all those sorts of things. So it's not too many. So there's not really too many big hold ups or big issues that that's gonna be causing too many big problems up there. I know you've got your DFS coming sort of towards the later this year. But how far off before you're going to start getting into the mining, breaking the ground, and start getting going?
Yeah, we I do hope that we can do preparations this year for the portal and for the establishment of the underground mine contractor at the end of the year before winter sets in. And then we should be starting actual mining or the decline and the development in the spring of next year. And then it will take some time before the decline enters the ore body area and then starts spreading out into to the transport level and to the ventilation top level and ore passes and drill drifts. So that all of that would take about 2 years, and the electric machinery will enter into operation gradually during those 2 years, and then going into an operational phase, which should be at that time all electric. So it because there are delivery times on some of these equipment will have quite long delivery times. And it's not being better these days with all this things happening with components and steel, and so we do have to be a little bit patient until all the machinery is in place. It will be one by one machine over some 2.5 years arriving.
Getting the decline, I just thought you need to get your decline in a bit to be able to do some more exploration drilling, or you think you've got plenty of holes into so you're confident with the ore body?
We will be continuing drilling from the main decline all the way down to the transport level, which is 300 meters below sea surface, and then as we go further into the ore body has currently a strike length of 10 kilometers. So it's quite massive, and as we go along on the deeper transport level, where you also will have the conveyor belt, we will continue the exploration from the transport tunnel, and then there will be core drilling all the way, like every 60, 70, or maybe every 80 meters, and in a fan going all the way in. We do have drilling in these areas, but the drilling at that depth is more sparse, and we mainly at that depth we mainly have inferred material. So yes, the drilling will continue. We can also drill deeper from that level, because it's the Nussir ore body is sitting in the Nussir mountain, and as you go up the mountain in order to drill deeper, it goes, in the end it becomes just too deep for drilling. We have the Norwegian record of deep drilling on land as well, and the ore body just continues and continues. We have no idea how big the ore body is, because there is currently no end.
So you could be setting up for quite a long life mine. You don't really, suppose, know how much is down there, but it could go on for a number of years.
Yeah, we do see this type of deposit, which is very, very similar to the African copper belt and the Polish Kupferschiefer, and it's quite unique. It's not very often seen around the world. It's a rare type of deposit, but these deposits are typically extending for hundreds of square kilometers, and the Nussir deposit could be similar to this, but we just don't know, because the drilling is too demanding and too expensive to continue, and we'll have to start operating and then continue drilling as we operate. So obviously, as we have seen in Africa and Poland, the operations could continue for 50 years and maybe 100 years. So most of the companies I've worked with in Norway have had their 100-year birthdays anyway, so it's quite possible.
So the plans have you got in your feasibility studies at the moment? Like, what sort of production mine life you've got on that at the moment?
The production, we do have a tailings permit at 2 million tons per year, so that is the maximum we could do currently. If the mine should exceed those volumes, we would have to renew our permit, and that's not going to happen
it's a hard process.
It's a very, very lengthy process, so it's not going to happen in the first few years. So I do think that we will see Nussir operating between 1.8 and at the maximum 2 million tons per year. So
okay, great to hear. Good luck getting into it and seeing what's down there. But I think that's pretty well everything I think I've got at the moment. So I don't know if there's anything that you think I missed, and anything else you might want to add that we missed out.
Yeah, I think what's important, it's also important to mention that the ore body itself is quite unique, being one of the cleanest ore bodies in the world. There's absolutely no other sulfides than the copper sulfides. There are no meaningful levels of other bad metals like arsenic and cadmium. These kind of metals, it's all clean down to the low ppms. So it's also during the process, it's also producing one of the highest grade concentrates in the world markets. So we have seen testing of the ore body going all the way up from around 45% copper in the concentrate up to 62% copper in concentrate at 96% recovery, which is, according to SGS Lakefield in Toronto, is a world record. So it's a fantastic ore body, and we should take very well care of it and produce it with the most environmental friendly methods in the world, so that it all goes well together, being a clean ore body, being produced in a clean way, going to the cleanest smelters in the world, producing copper metal that is cleaner than anything the world have seen so far, and then doing our small part. And if we can inspire others to do similar, then that is even more important than our production of metal.
Thank you. No, thanks for your time. That's all I've got for now. But thank you, and all the best with getting Nussir up and running. Interesting to watch how it goes.
Excellent. And thanks to you, Brett. Thanks for the work that you are doing.